Welcome to Down in the Bumps, a perinatal mental health podcast that shares stories of women and families who have experienced perinatal mental health problems. My name is Laura. I'm your host and I'm a doctor training in psychiatry. At the end of each episode, I'll share some learning about perinatal mental health related to the story we've heard. Please note that what is discussed in the podcast should not be taken as medical advice, and you should discuss your own medical care with your GP. I'm so excited to bring you my first episode today. I speak with Jade, a lady who experienced psychosis and depression shortly after the birth of her first baby. She is really open and very passionate about sharing her story. And spoiler alert, it does have a happy ending. We do talk about topics which might be difficult to listen to, including suicidal thoughts and a traumatic delivery. So if this might be triggering for you, consider stepping away, and maybe you can join us at another time. Over to Jade. Jade, it's fantastic to be able to talk to you today, and I'm really looking forward to our conversation. Can you start off by telling me a bit about yourself and about your family?
Yeah, I'm 33 years old, married to my husband, and we have a son. He will be 2 on the 9th of March, and I've been with my husband for 9 years now. We did get married back in January 2019. It did take him a while to finally propose, but I managed to persuade him. And I fell pregnant as soon as we got back from our honeymoon in June 2019. I'm half Filipino. My mum is from the Philippines. I have a younger brother. I'm very close to my family. I enjoy socialising with my friends, reading, walking, camping, skiing, doing puzzles, keeping fit and just getting outdoors. I'm a project manager for a nuclear consultancy company. I've been in the role for almost 4 years. Before that, I was a chemist. I really enjoy my job. I'm an organised person in my personal life too. So to do it as part of my job is perfect to me.
And I think you were telling me that you've become a positive mental health champion?
Yeah. So I volunteered when I came back from maternity to be a positive mental health champion. So we get together once a month with other positive mental health champions throughout the company, and we talk about different experiences and what we want to raise in other meetings where we have with clients or with internal as well. Mm-hmm. And if anyone wants to have a chat or speak to anything about anything, we don't really give advice. We're just there to listen. Mm-hmm. We also have that available to our employees.
Great.
So I have had one person come to me before about mental health. So I did have a nice chat with them, and we still keep in touch now. So it's nice for me to have something like that and give back in the workplace as well.
So today we're going to talk about your mental health during your pregnancy and also after the birth of your son. I just wondered, what did you know about mental health problems, particularly in the perinatal period, before you became pregnant?
I didn't know much about mental health at all. It didn't even cross my mind. I didn't feel I suffered from any mental health issues previously, and there's no history in my family. I considered that I was quite well balanced and happy and positive, and I felt very settled in my relationship. Before I became pregnant, it just didn't really occur to us at all that there would be any issues. So for me, it was something just not spoken about at all. And it felt, with my husband, everything felt really good with us. So we just thought nothing would bring us down. We've got a new chapter now. We're married. Let's start a new family. So everything just felt perfect. Felt the right moment.
And then, how was your mental health during your pregnancy?
I would say it was fine. My midwife considered that I was low risk, and the plan was for me to go to the birthing centre. So there wasn't anything untoward. Looking back now, I did have a few emotional setbacks and moments at work. I did a resit exam, which I failed again. So that really got to me. I was really sensitive, but I think I just blamed it on hormones, and it's just part of what pregnancy is all about. I am quite an emotional person anyway. So things that really got to me got really heightened, and I was very sensitive. So I'd say, looking back, maybe there was something there. Towards the end of my pregnancy, I had my workload reduced to try and alleviate stress. So that helped. But I remember the last month I wasn't sleeping very well. I'd wake up in the middle of the night. So I think my sleep had started to already decline at that point. And I remember I was just so uncomfortable towards the end because I was already past my due date. So I was about 10 days late before I actually did give birth. So I was very uncomfortable. But I still felt okay, and I didn't think there was anything wrong.
And then what was the birth like?
So the birth was actually really, really bad. It was so awful. I was 10 days late. I just wanted him to come out, and maybe he didn't want to because we were about to go into a pandemic. I don't know. I was booked for an induction on the 9th of March, but I actually had a sweep done on the Friday before, and it looked like things were going in the right direction. I was about 1 centimetre dilated. So the midwife said, right, go back home. So that was Friday. Saturday, nothing, but I was having pains, but they were so irregular. I didn't seem to be progressing, and I was in so much pain. So by the Sunday, I just said to my husband, please, can we go to the hospital? I said, something just doesn't feel right. I don't feel comfortable. I'm in too much pain. So I went in, and I planned to have a water birth. So I was in and out the pool. But again, I was just not progressing. So that night, the midwife actually broke my waters. So they thought that might progress things. Again, nothing really happened. So it was probably my husband that decided that let's maybe give her an epidural. And I was on gas and air at this point, so I was not really with it. So I think they decided that, right, let's take her up to the main hospital and do an epidural. I was also with my mum as well. So I had my husband and my mum as my birth partners. So they came along with me and stayed with me throughout. So I was put on the epidural, managed to get a little bit of sleep, and then got to 10 centimetres by the Monday morning. And then something happened. And then all of a sudden, all these consultants came in. So they were talking to me about emergency C-section and trying to need to get the baby out as soon as possible. So the idea was that, right, let's go with a 4-step delivery, which wasn't on my birth plan. I didn't want that one to happen, but obviously it doesn't all go to plan. Mm-hmm. But at this point, I was so exhausted. I just wanted him out and safe and as possible. So that afternoon, I think it was about 2:23, he was born. So from the Friday till the Monday, it was awful. And I think the trauma from all that, just looking back, it wasn't what you hoped for. But anyway, he was born and he was fine. He was on me for about 2 seconds and then taken away because he wasn't really breathing properly, and they were a bit concerned. So he needed to have oxygen administered, and that's when they said he needed to go to the neonatal unit. And they said we both had caught an infection, so we both had to be administered with antibiotics via IV. So I had to stay in hospital anyway to get that treatment, which again I didn't think I'd be in hospital for that long. Not a great start or a great ending to birth and labour.
Yeah, that sounds absolutely exhausting and really frightening. Yeah, and just thinking about you as like an organised person as well, who obviously, I can imagine that you probably put a lot of thought into your birth plan, and to have things go awry, I bet that was really difficult for you as well.
Oh yeah, it was. I mean, I wrote it down and everything, and I probably put too much project management into it. But afterwards, I was just so exhausted, emotions running high. I think I saw my mum when I got out, and I remember I tried to cry, but at that point, my emotions were just all over the place. I couldn't really cry, but I was just so relieved that he was finally out, and he, what I thought, he was okay. Obviously, he was in the neonatal unit, but just knowing that, we were both okay.
Yeah. And your mental health then did start to decline. When did you first start to realise that you were feeling unwell?
I think it was the second day after I gave birth. I started having just mixed emotions. I was so bloated from the excess fluid after the birth, and I was still in physical pain. And so I was always thinking, is this normal? Am I feeling what I'm feeling? Is that normal? I did ask for pain relief for the physical pain, but then for the mental side of things, I think I just thought, oh, it's just my emotions. I'm just, everything's all over the place. This is part of what happens after you give birth. I spoke to the midwife about me not being able to sleep properly. So they did discuss about giving me sleeping tablets at this point. But because I did want to breastfeed, they didn't think it was a good idea, as it would obviously go into the breast milk. So I tried to, that night, sleep as much as I could. But again, I just couldn't. So I was very wired. I was wide awake. So I just went up to the neonatal unit throughout the night until the early morning. I do remember a doctor coming to see me, and I did say I wasn't feeling right. I said I didn't feel my normal self. And she did say about it being possibly baby blues. But at the time, I just thought, I'm not sure if it is baby blues. I thought it was something more than that. My husband came to see me the next day, and that's when I started opening up to him a bit more and just saying that I just wasn't right. I was not sleeping, and I was still quite stressed and traumatized from the birth. So he did stay with me all day, and when he did have to leave, I knew I was very, very sad, very upset. I didn't feel I could be left alone. I felt that I needed somebody with me all the time. So day 2, day 3, day 4, wasn't sleeping at all. The way I was feeling, I was just very up and down. One minute I was normal and myself, next minute I'd be really low and very anxious and worried and scared and paranoid almost. And that's when I started having these thoughts that if I did go to sleep, I was going to die. So my brain just kept me staying awake. Just don't go to sleep, don't go to sleep. I didn't feel tired. I felt I could always be on the go. So that really affected me. And then in terms of being delirious and hallucinating for not sleeping, I thought I could hear the baby crying, even though I was 2 floors below and he was in the neonatal unit in the incubator. And I kept saying to the midwife, I said, is this normal? Should I be hearing this? One of them didn't really give me reassurance, and that's when I really took it. It affected me, and I felt like, oh my God, I shouldn't be feeling like this, and there's something wrong with me, there's something really bad. And then another midwife, she was total opposite. She hugged me and said, oh, yes, this is normal, this is how you should feel, and hormones and stuff. So I was very up and down. So depending on which midwife I had, one of them was giving me that reassurance, and then the other was like, no, what are you talking about? You need to go back to bed, you need rest. So that was really hard for me, and that affected me. I remember messaging my husband at night, and when I was in the hospital, I was just saying that I needed him to come as soon as he can because I was having a really bad time. And then by day 4, I think I then started telling him I didn't want to see anybody. I didn't want to see any other family members, which is out of character for me because I'm really close to my family. And then it wasn't until my husband spoke to me and sort of reassured me and said, maybe you do need to see other people to keep your spirits up. So I did change my mind. And I didn't know what it was, but as soon as I saw my mum, I think I just hugged her and burst into tears, and I cried so hard. And I told her that I said, I can't sleep because I think I'm going to die. And she said it was okay. She said she experienced that before. And I felt such a relief that I thought, oh my goodness, it's not just me that thinks like this. There's someone so I felt as if like some sort of burden came off my shoulders. So at this point, because I was in a shared maternity ward, and obviously the midwives could see how poorly I was, they then decided to transfer me into my own private room. And luckily, lockdown hadn't happened then, so they allowed my mum to stay with me overnight. The reason why my mum is, I didn't want my husband to stay with me and then he feel exhausted and tired, because I need him to stay strong and stay rested. So plan was, okay, my mum would stay with me and then my husband would come and see us in the day.
So you mentioned earlier, Jade, about how you're experiencing hallucinations around about this time. Can you tell me more about those hallucinations?
Yeah, my hallucinations were of a religious nature, which is a bit strange for me, because even though I have been brought up Catholic, I don't really practice now, and me and my husband, we don't go to church, so we're non-religious. So to suddenly have these religious hallucinations, really, really affected me. I thought I could see what I thought was heaven and hell. I thought I could see images of demons and gargoyles telling me this is where you're going to go when you do die. So that's why I think I tried to stay awake because I didn't want to die, and I thought that's where I was going to go. My mum is religious though, and she was with me throughout, so she was praying and she was playing religious music. So again, that probably didn't help my mental health and help my hallucinations. So I think that played a part to it. And she did give me some rosary beads. I remember I kept clutching onto them as if they were my life savior, and I was running around the room with them, and sort of when I got really agitated, I was like holding on to them as if it was going to save me, which again, that's not me and out of character.
And it was around this time that you started to look for answers for what was happening to you. I understand that you're a bit of a reader.
I was so attached to my phone. I mean, it's probably the worst thing to have when you're not well. But I had to Google, am I going to die from having a mental breakdown? What are the signs for being bipolar? Being schizophrenic. So I was really looking into it because I was trying to search for the answer and trying to find, right, what's the solution? If I know what I have, then I'll be able to get better. No one talked to me or said anything about psychosis. So it didn't even cross my mind, didn't even find it on Google or anything. So when I was searching for these answers, it really made me believe that I was, 1 minute I thought I was schizophrenic. I was shouting and running around the room, telling my mum, I'm schizophrenic, I'm schizophrenic. And my mum was like, no, you're not, breathe, calm down, trying to calm me down. So it doesn't help when to Google things.
So I guess you talked before about how, particularly in the early days, you got some conflicting advice really on the ward. Do you think that health professionals realise that you're becoming unwell in your mental health and how unwell you were?
Again, I don't think they really knew how to react to how I was. And I suppose it also didn't help because I didn't really tell them exactly what I was feeling. I was just relaying all my thoughts and feelings to my husband. And when the mental health team, when they did come to see me, it was only for a short period of time. So I try and, in those moments, I try to force my body to say, right, try and act normal, be normal. So yeah, I felt that they didn't really sort of understand how well I was. And when my husband was talking to the midwives and the mental health team, he really had to push them and say, Jade's not well. She needs to go to a mother and baby unit, and she needs to stay with the baby. If it wasn't for my sister-in-law, who works in sort of the medical industry anyway, if it wasn't for her and for her advice, my husband would have struggled or know what to do, what to say.
Yeah, I'm really getting this sense that your husband felt that he had to advocate for you in this scenario. And he obviously knows you and what you like, and it was really clear to him that you weren't well, but you were able to hold things together for short periods when healthcare professionals came to see you.
Yeah, it was. I remember I could feel myself being okay, and then when I did have either an anxiety attack or a sudden feeling of I didn't know where I was, I lost that sense of reality. And I remember my mum was feeding me, and I can't remember getting to that stage where she was actually feeding me cereal. I remember my dad came to see me, and I was touching him, and I was saying, "Are you really here?" And my dad's like, "Yeah, I'm here." And he was saying, you were in another world. You didn't know where you were. So those moments, they all got missed, like, because the midwives aren't with me all the time. But yeah, my family and what they saw of me, they could see that my behaviour, my character was just not the same, and I wasn't the Jade that they knew.
I know that there were these conversations going on about where you should go after being discharged from hospital. I'm aware that your mum was quite keen to help you. What were your thoughts about that?
Obviously, I'd happily have my mum with me. I'm quite close to my mum, so for her to be with me, I thought, yes, that's what I needed. That's what I need. That's where I need to be. But looking back at it now, if I did go with my mum and stayed with her and she sort of cared for my needs, it probably wouldn't have been the right choice, because as caring as she is, she probably would have taken a baby and done all of his care for him and done all looking after him. So maybe that bond probably wouldn't have been there as such if I did go with my mum and stayed with her. Even though it probably does sound good to be with your mum or your family to help you sort of in that recovery, I think it is key to stay in a mother and baby unit to help yourself and that independence, with your baby again, because you need to build that bond up again.
You were later admitted to a mother and baby unit in March 2020, so peak COVID, and then you were there for 2 months. So how did you feel about being admitted to the mother and baby unit?
Yeah, so obviously at the time, I thought, I'm in the wrong place. I need to get out. This is not where I want to be. I knew I needed to be there to get better. But as the weeks went by, I just thought, I'm getting worse. Nothing's improving. So that's when the leaflets that I started seeing in the mother baby unit, that's when they started discussing it was postpartum psychosis. And that was when I started to read up about it. And I thought, yes, this is what I have. It was a light bulb moment. And I thought, this is what I've experienced. So finding that out when I got to the mother and baby unit a week or 8 days later put a bit of relief in me, because I remember I messaged my husband. I said, oh, this is what I have. I've got postpartum psychosis. And he said, yes, I know. Did you not know that? So I was like, no one told me. So maybe they didn't want to scare me, or I was just not of sound mind at the time. But it was a relief. And when I saw that it was 100% full recovery rate, I thought, great, this is where I should be. This is where I need to be. So I was on medication for the psychosis, and I just needed for it to do its work and hopefully start to see some improvement. But sadly, as the days turned into a week, I was feeling the total opposite. I was really low, and my mood was always low. I felt that there was no motivation or excitement to do anything. I felt as if my personality had gone, and I was just this empty shell. And I didn't feel much excitement of being with the baby, which again was bizarre. This is my son. This is my life. I also referred to him as baby. I never called him by his name. I didn't feel that I was associated with him. So I always felt like there's something not right here. But I knew I had to look after him and care for him because I was his mum. But I just didn't have these loving feelings against him. I did lost my appetite. I didn't want to eat. But my brain, I remember it was just so much overdrive and so many thoughts and overthinking and worrying. And all I could think about was the baby. I think about my husband, thinking about my work, finances, family. What would happen if I don't get better? Will I lose my job? Will I lose the house? I'm going to be homeless. I'm going to, I don't know, end up dead. And then I think about death, which is one of my biggest fears. So constant overdrive a way that I was thinking. And it really heightened inside me that this is real. This is going to happen to you. So that also made me really panicky, and I got really anxious. And at the time I had to take additional sort of medication to help me calm down. So that was in like the first week of being there, and that's when the psychiatrist started mentioning I was showing signs of postnatal depression. And then that's when they started talking to me about going on antidepressants, because I was so low. I did go to sleep because the antipsychotic helped me go to sleep, but I never felt rested. And I kept telling my husband, I kept telling him I didn't feel anything for the baby. I told him I didn't want him. And then that's when I started telling him, I think we need to give him up for adoption, because I was trying to look for a way out. I thought I was an unfit mother. I thought I was not doing things right. So I was trying to look for this way out, and thought if I gave him up, I could then get better. And then further down the line, I can get him back again. So like these weird thoughts would just come into my head. And that's when, it was my husband just trying to reassure me and say, you are doing a good job. Everyone can see that you're still looking after the baby. They have no concerns. But I just thought, we've made a mistake. This is not what we should have happened, or what should have happened to us. And then that's made me question, like, should have we really had children? We didn't really talk about it. Yeah, we got married. We've been together for so long. And then in society, yeah, what do you do next? Okay, have a baby. So I think we went with what life does to you. So for me to think these things, that yeah, it was really, really bizarre. So I kept messaging my husband. I kept telling him I just wanted to die, and I just wanted to be left alone and without the baby, and that someone else had to look after him, because I thought I was going to be neglecting him, and I thought I was just not doing a good job. But they had no concerns for his safety or well-being. So it was just brain overdrive and all this low feelings.
That story is just such an illustration of like how desperate you were feeling at that time, and how good it was that you're on a mother and baby unit, because you had nursery nurses there to support you and the team to support you.
Exactly. And the mother and baby unit is such a great setup. I felt very safe, very secure. You had everything you need. All it is about you and the baby, and taking care of yourself and the baby, and you can focus all your attention on that. They had activities on the ward which would help distract the mind. I do like doing puzzles, so I did a lot of jigsaws when I was there, because that really helped. And the staff was just amazing. They knew what they were doing. They knew how to react when something did go wrong, or when your behaviour was out of character. And I do really admire Dr. Strachan, who is my psychiatrist. She just knew what I needed, and she made me feel reassured. I don't know, I just felt that connection with her. And my husband felt the same, because he was really concerned if I was ever going to get better. But I think they had a really good chat, and he felt reassured that, my recovery would happen and I would get better. I remember I kept telling the nurses every day, I'm not going to get better. I'm the only one that's never going to get better. And I kept telling them, and they said, no, you will. And when that day comes, when you do get better, we will tell you, we told you so. So they really did tell me so, but I just, didn't believe them. But as the weeks had gone on, and I must have been showing signs I was getting better. So that's when they mentioned about going back home for a couple of hours, and that turned into a day, and then turned into an overnight stay, and then a weekend home. And then finally I was able to go home. So the transition going from the mother and baby unit to the home was a great setup as well. They did it perfectly. So when I do look back on it now, I can say that the mother and baby unit was definitely the place for me. Without being there, I don't know where I would have been, or what would have happened to me, or where I would have ended up. Even though at the time I thought my recovery was slow, but it probably was quicker than I thought. And on the 21st of May, that was when I was discharged from the mother and baby unit and being able to go back home. So yeah, I was able to continue my recovery.
So you've mentioned your husband a few times about how he was so important for your recovery. He was such a support to you, and he was always there to provide reassurance. I'm just thinking about the context of you being in hospital, Jade. It was March 2020, so the country was in lockdown. And I suppose that your husband wasn't able to visit you as much as he otherwise might have been able to. And how do you think your illness and that separation affected your husband and the relationship between you?
It didn't help with COVID, but fortunately, with the birth and leading up to that, he was able to be with me throughout, and I could see him every day, and I could see other family members. So that was fine. And then when we got to the mother and baby unit, I think it was the first or second day, he was able to come in, and then after that, I think I weren't allowed any visitors. So that was hard for the first, I think it was about a week. And then when they opened it up again, they were able to allow a visitor, but I was only allowed one visitor. So again, I felt like, I was still able to see him, but it was only for a short period of time. So that didn't help. But everything, all of what happened to me was new for us. Obviously new parents. But I didn't even consider at the time that my husband could be having maybe his own mental health issues, and he could be struggling. I think I was just more focused, obviously, on myself and on the baby, that I didn't think that he would have be impacted from it. So throughout my time on the hospital and in the mother and baby unit, he kept a good, strong front for me, and he kept it together, and he kept reassuring me and supporting me. And I just looked up to him. I admire him. He's my rock. I always said to him, "You're my rock." Without him, I don't think I would have been able to cope. So for me to think that he might have his own maybe mental health issues didn't occur to me. And it wasn't until I did go home that he started to open up to me a bit more, and we started to have more of a conversation. And that's when he started saying he thought that things had changed between us. That we weren't the same anymore, that our priorities had changed, and the spark between us, I think, had gone, had lost. We used to be so intimate before I got pregnant. We're so lovey and touchy feeling, and we never had any of that after being pregnant, and then after the birth and everything. That was all lost, and it took us, I think, up to 2 years for us to be intimate again. So obviously there was something not right and that side of things in terms of our relationship. So it really affected him, and he did have, I'd say, probably a mental breakdown in December 2020, and he was off work for a couple of weeks. We did talk about maybe going to the doctors and maybe putting on medication, but he wasn't really he wasn't for that. He wanted to try and do it on his own and get better on his own. So he went to counselling on his own, and then we went to marriage counselling, and we talked about what was going through our minds and what makes us happy, and trying to get that spark reignited again. But the counsellor, she said that there wasn't any conflict between us. There's no arguments, and we're both quite a relaxed couple. It was just trying to find ourselves again and find that happiness. The antipsychotic and antidepressant made me so spaced out and not with it. I was a different person. I was still not right, and I'd be quite quiet, which is unlike me. I'm obviously quite chatty. So he would talk to me, but I'd listen to him, but I'd have nothing to respond to him. So he got really frustrated with me because I wasn't really reacting to him or meeting his needs. For me, I thought, my goodness, am I going to lose him now? Are we going to split up? What's going to happen? So thoughts like that obviously entered my mind. So it did have put a huge strain on our relationship. It's just another hurdle, I guess, in our journey of going through psychosis, going through postnatal depression, and then going through a relationship issue. And I guess for fathers, we didn't really feel there was probably as much support for fathers. It was more focus around mother and baby. It would be good if there was sort of more support there for him. Now that I am off the medication, I came off back in November. A month later, my mental health had just improved massively. One of the side effects is weight gain, so I did lose I've lost a little bit of weight, which is good. But my motivation has come back and massively improved. And I'm actually thinking so much more about my husband. It's not just about the baby. I think maybe he felt a bit displaced. I'm thinking more about us as a couple. So I feel now we're in such a good place. I feel the spark is getting back now. So yeah, it's definitely taken a toll on us.
Yeah, absolutely. Like you've been through so much as a family, and it's just really nice to hear that actually you've got that spark back and things are so much better now after going through actually a really traumatic experience for both of you. And how's your son now and your relationship with him?
Yeah, he's amazing. He's grown into such a happy little boy. I'm so grateful that he's not been impacted by what happened to me and to us. He's just so communicative, and he's so bubbly and got such a good, cute personality. It just makes me smile, and I feel that love, that bond. I'm so excited to see him, to be around him. I love him so much. So I'm hoping he's going to be a mummy's boy. So at the early stages of not having that bond there to now is just incredible. And again, thanks to the mother and baby unit, because they do help you build that bond back. They do certain activities like baby massage and showing skin to skin contact and doing things with them, sensory stuff. I think that was a massive benefit to me. So having this feeling towards him now, I'm just so thankful that it's there. And then would I have any more? I would love to have more. Obviously, there's a 50% chance of it coming back, so that is scary. But for me, I know that it would be more controlled. There would be a care plan in place. I'd be probably put on medication, and I'd have all the support around me and probably a planned C-section. But I know my husband is still unsure. He's still not 100%. So if we don't have any more, that's fine. But if we do, that'd be awesome.
Oh, lovely. That's so nice to hear that that everything's going so well and that you can be feeling really positive about the future. That's really wonderful. So, do you think this experience has changed you in any way, Jade?
Oh, massively changed me. I feel a sense of purpose has come to me now, of being a mum and being successful in my job. I feel I have this spark inside me and this confidence to do things, to take up challenges. And as I said, I'm a positive mental health champion. I probably wouldn't have done that before what happened to me. So yeah, it's definitely massively changed my life, and it's given me that sense of grounded feeling that you can go through dark moments and low points in your life, but you can come out of it and come out the other side. But no, I do feel a different person, but a better person. And people say, they say you're so strong, and you look at you now, and at the time you don't feel strong. You feel so weak, and you're at your lowest point. But no, when you look back now, you think actually I am strong. I did overcome it. I did get through it. So you just feel that sense of achievement inside yourself, and that self-esteem and that boost, which is also good.
Yeah, absolutely. Like, you've just come so far and you're doing so well. Thinking back on your experience, are there any particular things that you'd like doctors and other healthcare professionals to know?
Speaking to mothers and families about mental health, just during pregnancy and after childbirth, I think that needs to be spoken about a lot more, or at least discussed on the build up and that, because it wasn't discussed in my pregnancy, and it wasn't discussed in antenatal classes. So, and the fact that it can happen out of the blue, and it can happen to anyone who hasn't got any history of mental health issues, I think that's a key thing. At the hospital, those midwives there was nothing wrong with them. They were doing their jobs, but I think handling someone with that mental health illness, I think maybe they need some more experience or training. But in the mother and baby unit, can't fault them whatsoever. And again, having someone like Dr. Strachan there, no concerns whatsoever. I thought she was brilliant. And then again, just more support for fathers, really. Just giving them that additional support while mum's not well.
Yeah, definitely. And you gave a really lovely message before to other women or new mums, but is there anything else that you would like to say to other women or new mums who may be struggling with their mental health?
Yeah, so stick with it, let the medication do its work, and take the support from the healthcare professionals. Even when you're feeling so low, so bad, and you don't think you're going to get better, you will get better. That fog will clear eventually, and you will feel yourself again. So you just have to find that fight in yourself to keep going and to not give up. My other advice is, I know it's hard as it sounds, but try to get as much sleep as you can and rest as you can, especially after giving birth. Sleep was a massive trigger for me, and it really affected my mental health in that first week. Another thing that really affected me was I did want to breastfeed. I did try, even though I was not well, I tried to hold the baby and put him against me, but it just didn't feel right. It didn't feel natural. So I felt I had all this pressure on me to breastfeed. He was formula fed since day one, and there's no issues with him now, but fed is best. Formula or breast milk, it's either one of them is just as good. But don't feel that you have to put that pressure of yourself with breastfeeding. And then my last thing that I did that did help me was, throughout what happened to me, on the outlook of it all, everyone thought I was doing well, but in my mind it was a constant overdrive. So I did keep a bit of a diary with me, and I wrote down all my thoughts and feelings. So try not to bottle it up, show it or say it to your partner, to the doctors and nurses, about how you truly feel, because the support is there and they'll get you through that.
Yeah, those are great messages. Thank you, Jade. It's been an absolute pleasure to talk to you today. Thank you so much for sharing your story.
It's definitely been a journey, and it's all been such a related to each other. So because my personal life is going well, my work life is going well, my relationship's going well. So it's just all come together and it's come to a nice ending. And I'm hoping 2022 is our year again.
Oh, that's great. Thank you very much, Jade.
You're welcome. Thank you.
So I hope you enjoyed listening to Jade as much as I enjoyed speaking to her. Now it's time for the medical bit. It's a part of the show where I share some knowledge about perinatal mental health, and we can also think about how we can relate this knowledge to what we've heard from Jade. I've chosen today to focus on postpartum psychosis. That's not to diminish Jade's experience with postnatal depression, but I'm hoping that we will return to think about postnatal depression later in the series. So what is postpartum psychosis? Well, it's a serious mental illness, and it's actually a medical emergency, so a woman who presents with signs of postpartum psychosis should be assessed within 4 hours. Postpartum psychosis affects 1 or 2 women in 1,000. Symptoms most commonly start within the first few weeks after delivery, but can start within the first few days, which is what we saw with Jade. Symptoms that women might display in postpartum psychosis: things like changes in mood, so really high, elated mood, and then low mood, not needing sleep or unable to sleep, which we saw in Jade, feeling really energetic, feeling really chatty, and also loss of contact with reality, so experiencing delusions and hallucinations. Delusions are fixed, false beliefs out of character for the person. We saw that Jade had religious delusions, but delusions can have all different themes and natures. And another hallmark of psychosis is hallucinations. So this could be hearing, seeing, smelling, feeling, tasting things that aren't there, such as when Jade heard baby crying from a different floor of the hospital. That's a special sort of hallucination called an extracampine hallucination. I think a key point to make here is that women with postpartum psychosis can have really fluctuating symptoms, and these symptoms can fluctuate within the same day. So a woman may seem her usual self if you were to assess her in the morning, but then by the afternoon, she may have developed some symptoms of psychosis. So that's really important for us to think about as professionals and take the concerns of relatives really seriously. Postpartum psychosis can occur in women who have no history of mental illness, though is more likely to happen in people who have had a previous episode of postpartum psychosis, who have a diagnosis of bipolar affective disorder, or have a family history of postpartum psychosis or bipolar affective disorder. So how is postpartum psychosis managed? Management often involves admission to the mother and baby unit, and we've heard from Jade about what wonderful places these can be. The mother and baby unit is a mental health ward where the mothers and babies can stay together while the mother receives treatment for her mental health. One of the main goals of treating the mother on a mother and baby unit is to promote the relationship between mother and infant. It's also important to think about physical causes of psychosis. So Jade outlined that she was treated for sepsis. So you also have to think about, was she delirious? And could that have been the cause of the psychosis? A mainstay of treatment is with medication, particularly antipsychotics. So if you're interested, Jade was prescribed olanzapine, and that's a second-generation antipsychotic, which is proven to be very effective for psychosis and often works very quickly, but it does have side effects such as feeling drowsy, sluggish, putting on weight, which we heard that Jade struggled with, and these side effects can contribute to people deciding not to continue with antipsychotics. Most people who are diagnosed with postpartum psychosis do get better with treatment. I think it's important to think about risk here. So what are the risks of postpartum psychosis? Well, suicidal thoughts are common in women with postpartum psychosis. Women may have thoughts to harm their baby. And there was a cohort study in 2017 by Camperman, which showed that 8% of women with postpartum psychosis actually have thoughts of killing their baby. There's also other risks, such as compromising the mother-infant relationship, you can imagine that a mum who's really unwell is going to really struggle to care for their baby and to perhaps enjoy spending time with their baby as well. Even though I did mention infanticidal thoughts, the main safeguarding risk to the baby is more likely to be neglect. So what's the risk of recurrence? Jade mentioned a figure of 50%, and women who have had a previous episode of postpartum psychosis do have around a 50% chance of recurrence in their next pregnancy. So that's important for us to bear in mind as healthcare professionals thinking about future risk, and to work with women to formulate thoughtful management plans about how to cut the risk of recurrence in future. And that may involve medication, but it will certainly think about the woman's history, what sort of symptoms she had in her last episode of illness, how quickly she became unwell, how she was managed last time. All these things will be combined together to think about how to best look after the woman to try to stop the same thing from happening again. Before I end today, I just wanted to acknowledge the Mother and Baby Unit at Lancashire and South Cumbria NHS Foundation Trust. It's a brilliant facility that does some amazing work and we're really proud of it. For more information about postpartum psychosis, you can go to the Action on Postpartum Psychosis website, which is a brilliant charity, and there's also the Royal College of Psychiatry website too, which has some good information. Thanks again for listening. I'll see you next time.